This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
I'm Sam LaPrade. As we know, Ontario is heading to the polls on February the 27th. Here at Rogers TV, we're giving all of the candidates an opportunity to share their views on what's important to Ontario. Now we're dealing with the debate for Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. We've invited all candidates to attend today, and we had 3 candidates take us up on our invitation. Today I'd like to welcome Thaila Riden, Jason St. Louis, and Trevor Stewart. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'd like to have opening remarks. We'll start with you, Thaila.
Okay. Well, thanks again for having us, Sam. As Sam said, I'm from Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. Grew up in Glengarry-Prescott and Russell, and went to school, and ultimately started a family in our riding. So I love our riding, and I can feel the hurt of a lot of people. And with rising grocery prices, housing being out of reach for many people, the system overall is broken, needs fixing, and of course we're facing down economic trade war with the U.S. So as a backdrop, the Green Party, we've actually costed out and came up with a platform that offers solutions that we can meet, and that's what I want to bring here as a voice to Queen's Park from our riding.
Thank you. Jason.
Hi, my name is Jason St. Louis. I am new to this political landscape. I'm not a lifelong politician by any means, but I am a former mixed martial arts champion. I am a paralegal. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a brother, and I'm a member of my community. And I'm happy to be here today to share the stage with these other candidates, to be part of this process. And I'm here to listen, to learn, and to do my best to represent the people who have put their already votes in me to represent them. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor.
My name is Trevor Stewart. I'm a city councillor for Hammond and Cheney, which is Ward 7 in the city of Clarence-Rockland. I was born and raised here in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell, and I've lived here my entire life. I'm proud of this region. I'm proud of the people who call Eastern Ontario home, but we have been left behind. The Ford government, over the past few years, has been focused on tunnels in Toronto and an RCMP investigation. While we struggle to get a family doctor, while our farmland continues to quickly erode, and while we cannot find affordable housing in our communities, we need a reset. Mr. Ford, he's not interested in us. He hasn't been in our region in over 7 years as Premier. It's time we elect leaders that show up. It's time we get a healthcare system that works for us. It's time to get our fair share in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell.
Thank you. First question for you, Thaila. When we talk about Ontario, many people think about healthcare as being one of the biggest challenges we're facing. What would you and the Green Party do towards healthcare?
And thanks again for that, Sam. So we've heard stories, recently in Walkerton, people waiting in a blizzard because a new doctor came to town and they're lining up, some with babies outside trying to get one. And given that, we need, and we recognize that the healthcare system has been underfunded. We got to bring caring back to Ontario. One of the top priorities is we have to develop a plan, a 3 to 5 year plan to bring in 3,500 new doctors. We have to open up spots in the medical colleges so we can increase the pipeline. We also have to increase family health teams in rural communities, so nurse practitioners, so we offer more healthcare options in our riding.
You're welcome to debate.
I think something that comes across my plate is speaking with people who I know in the healthcare industry is their expression is that there isn't enough money, there isn't enough time, they're overworked, and there's too much bureaucracy and administration going on. And I think that if we could put together more of a plan that allows the individual doctors, nurses, PSWs, healthcare workers to monitor and manage their own systems, that might help minimize the out-of-office administration bureaucracy, minimize the amount of money that's spent on those things, and be able to redirect finances to help support each of the facilities as an individual unit.
I'll just hit on that point that I think there is enough money, right? If we're not spending billions of dollars on cheap political gimmicks like we've seen the Ford government do, right? They sent us out $200 checks to everyone. That cost the Ontario economy $3 billion. The plan that we have to bring everybody a family doctor within 4 years would cost us about $3.1 billion. If we have our priorities set, if we elect a government that has its priorities set, we can get everybody a family physician within 4 years. And we can do that by creating 2 new medical schools, by opening residency spots, by reducing the amount of administrative burden that's currently on our physicians, right? Eliminating fax machines, including a centralized referral system for patients. And I know that I've talked to a lot of family physicians who are very beholden onto their fax systems, right? But we need to talk with those physicians, consult them, listen to them, because we're not the experts on healthcare. I don't think anybody on this stage is. We need to have their opening eye. And when we look at the type of care that we can provide to our communities, we can do it, but we need to make it as the main priority, which we're going to be doing with the Ontario Liberals.
And we need to stop the downslide into privatization. We have to keep our healthcare public for the public. Like my colleagues had mentioned, we have to bring care back into this province. So one of the key points with the Green Party, we have ideas, but they're not just green ideas. I invite you guys, if there's anything you like to hear, bring it up to Queen's Park. We just got to get the work done.
I think the idea of health care, it is care. And the people that I know who take on these roles is because they are caring individuals, people who get into these roles because they do care and they want to be part of it. And some of us who are in our 20s, 30s don't really think of what healthcare means to us later in life. But as I grow older and I see my family and friends and they're getting older, people who are working those jobs, they need to care in order to do a great job. And when people don't care about their jobs, they don't always do a great job. So I think there's a lot of things that we can address between budget funding and making it accessible for everyone.
Thaila, last 30 seconds to you.
I'll just pretty much leave it to that. We have to bring caring back to Ontario.
Thank you so much. Next question. What I'd like to talk about now is keeping the lights on and the heat on for families here in Ontario. It's challenging for many, as you know, Jason. How will you ensure that it is affordable for families to have access to heat and to energy?
That is a big question that I've been kind of rewatching some of the debates from days gone by, years gone by, and it's the same kind of process. I am a single father, and being able to pay the rent and groceries and get all those things taken care of, it's a lot of work. So for me, I think it would be really coming to the table with developers and government to see how we can cut red tape, how we can make building more accessible in a more timely fashion. It's taking way too long to get permits. Development charges that may or may not be spent in the municipalities they're supposed to. And really, our government is giving away billions of dollars in aid to all over the place, and we need to see how we can redirect those funds back into our communities as a priority.
Thank you so much, Jason. Open debate.
Yeah, I'll just hit on that, because one of the main things we want to be doing is cutting taxes, right? Folks are struggling. It feels as though the water's just at the neck, and every time it feels as though we're finally get a breath of fresh air, the water's right back on our necks. Folks need a breathing room, and we have a plan to do that. We're going to be cutting middle class taxes. We're also going to be cutting the taxes on hydro and home heating to give folks that break that they so desperately need. But I also think when we're talking about alleviating that financial pressure, we need to be talking about jobs. And when I look at jobs, I look at the youth unemployment rate that is currently the worst in Canada. It's in Ontario. We've got to start putting our young people back to work, creating those jobs that make them be able to get a profitable salary, because right now, young people don't have the deal and the dream that they were once promised. We need to start working for them, and we need to start working for families here in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell.
I would say on that too, because of it's like housing falls in with taxes. There's a lot of things that are interconnected. I know your question is about housing, but it is about taxes. The cost of supplies and the cost of building, all these things affect what the costs are of living. One of the things that I would like to propose, and I know it's more about a federal issue, but being a member of Parliament, I could approach the province to work with the federal government about looking to amend the Bank of Canada Act to allow private loans to citizens, perhaps small 2% loans for first-time home buyers, and for second, third-time home buyers, lower the interest rates so we can build those homes, build more homes. We have over 2 million people that have arrived in Canada, and we have not built enough homes to meet the needs of everyone. If we can bring those costs down and make homes more affordable, gives everybody more of an opportunity to participate in buying a home.
I'd like to add to that. Right now, there is a lot of regulatory red tape we could remove, and actually opening it up to what types of homes could be built. So in the green platform, it's just removing the barriers to build fourplexes and denser units within urban boundaries. Because you have to remember, if you have a development and you bring out roads, sewers, electrical, that all has to be maintained by the towns. So if you infill in already established areas, you're going a more efficient route in that regard. As to home buyers, we're looking to remove the land transfer tax for first-time home buyers, and also we have to bring back deeply affordable housing. You know, back in the day, the last time there was social housing, that was back in the mid-90s, and that we haven't seen any since then. And we can see that a lot of people are hurting who really can't afford we've got 80,000 people who are homeless. We have to bring deeply affordable housing back into Ontario as well, and we have a plan for that as well. Reinstating rent controls, and also placing a moratorium on above guideline rents, rent evictions essentially, and make sure that landlords, we have to bring back a balance to our land and tenant boards, but we have to make sure that there's been unjust rent evictions that's been happening as well.
I'd like to close
Last
up on
30
that.
seconds for you.
And regarding what I'm saying about getting the Bank of Canada Act amended, any of those interests that go back in, I think I'd like to see that maybe proportionately split, where the federal government gets a portion of that back, and the rest of the interest that's made on that goes back into the communities that got those loans to begin with. That might help to alleviate some of the stress on municipal services that are going to be required when you're building these homes and these subdivisions. We also need to remove regulations on the size of homes, maybe build small, tiny home communities that can be more affordable for lower wage incomes, middle age incomes.
Thank you so much. Trevor, we know many of the municipalities in Ontario are facing crumbling infrastructure, including bridges. Mayors from all of the 400 plus municipalities have come knocking on the province's door to help with these financial pressures, repairs and upgrades. How will you ensure the province's infrastructure in Ontario is safe for Ontarians?
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head there, right? As a municipal councillor, I've seen just how bad a deal our municipalities are getting. It's one of the main reasons I made the jump to the provincial sphere, is to start getting our municipalities here in the Eastern region their fair share, because they haven't been getting it. We have seen record high property tax increases, and it's not just in one municipality, it's in just about every single municipality in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. Why? Because municipalities, it's illegal for them to run a deficit. We can't run a deficit. The provincial government can, the federal government can, but we can't. So their only levy to try to lessen that burden is to raise taxes. We need to give municipalities a new deal, and the Ontario Liberals have committed to doing just that.
We also sorry, jumping in, but really a lot of costs have been downloaded to municipalities. And in this plan, Green Plan, we would take 50% of that back up to the province, so that way they can carry the load on costs that right now municipalities are burdened with.
Yeah, look, and again, you hit on bridges. I'm going to hit also on roadways. We look at us here in Clarence-Rockland, and throughout Glengarry-Prescott-Russell, we've got the 17. It has been a thorn in the side of commuters for God knows how long. I swear to God, I was in diapers, and I was still spending half my life on that road. We need to upload the 17. We need to correct the error that the Harris government did by downloading it onto municipalities. And then we need to start extending it. We need to have a commitment, and that's what we have here with the Ontario Liberals. We have a commitment to add an HOV lane, to add a bus lane onto the 17, to start to reduce that congestion, because it's a step in the right direction. That's what we need. And right now, we saw the Ford government say that they were going to upload the 174. And when it came to us here in the Eastern region, we didn't even get consulted. The city of Clarence-Rockland wasn't consulted. The United Counties weren't consulted. We need a seat at the table and a true voice for us in the Eastern region.
I think we're all agreeing on a lot of great issues here, especially with the 17. Money that has been asked for a long time. We see that just as the writ drops and the election happens, all of a sudden the MPP, the Conservative MPP, shows up with $76 million to our district, giving money here, giving money there. Is it to potentially get some votes, drum up some votes? I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences, but I do believe in good timing. And that could be very well good timing to, sway a little bit of action in one direction. I drive the 17 every day for work. I'm a driver education instructor, and it is always something to be able to get on that highway, get to and from work. It does have to be expanded. The communities are growing all around. We're going to need schools to accommodate that. The whole growth in the area, we have to keep up with the growth. And I do agree with giving municipalities a new deal. They have to have more access to funding that's available. We pay taxes, and we should be able to have access to those taxes to really look after building our communities, supporting the growth and the future growth that's going to be expected.
On infrastructure, I'll also hit on another point, right? We're seeing municipalities like Russell, who's trying to build the Russell Recreation Complex. A huge, huge project that's going to bring a lot of good to the Russell community, one of the fastest growing communities within Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. But then I also look at Castleman, which is facing massive, critical infrastructure needs with their water system. They need an upgrade. They've asked the provincial government for that upgrade. They've applied for the waterfront program that the provincial government put out in place, and they were refused. We have municipalities down in Toronto, down in Ottawa, who have that buying power, who have the debt capacity to get into those infrastructure projects. We out in the eastern regions, in the small municipalities, don't. It's about time, again, that we start getting that fair deal so that folks out in Castleman don't have to worry about the water that they're drinking, so that the folks out in Russell can finally have a recreation complex that works for them.
We have rebuttal for you for 30 seconds.
Rebuttal on myself. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, so again, as I was saying, it's been 7 years of the Ford government, and it's been 7 years that we have been ignored. In 7 years, Premier Ford has not set foot in our district, not a single time. He doesn't know where we like to go out to drink. He doesn't know the best spot for a burger out in Clarence-Rockland or in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. And it's time that we get a representative and a party that shows up. Bonnie Crombie, the Ontario Liberals, since being elected as leader, she's been to our district about 3 times, maybe come for a 4th time, we'll see. It's about time that we put our trust in leaders that listen to us, that are there for us, and that we know are going to fight for us. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Thank you so much. Thaila, Ontario has many lakes, rivers, wetlands, many species of wildlife, many people thinking about climate, biodiversity in this province. How will you protect biodiversity in the province of Ontario?
So to start, thank you for that question. Certainly keeping the green belt untouched, that would be our promise, but also establishing a blue belt and recognizing wetlands actually protecting floods as well. So it's protecting biodiversity, but protecting our infrastructure in that moment. So we would set up a blue belt. We would restore conservation authorities, funding and powers to make sure that they're able to properly do their jobs as well. And take that approach. We would also focus on farmland. We have a lot of prime farmland in our riding especially, but we're losing about 300 acres a day to it. We would also protect that because that is our food security.
And rebuttal.
Yeah, I would like to say that that's a big landscape as you talk about all the wetlands and everything that we have. I think something to come back on right now and focus is our area, the Glengarry-Prescott-Russell district. What do we need? I know that Mayor Jamie MacDonald out of the North Glengarry district, he just got the money that they needed for the expanding the lagoon and the waterways. I personally don't have enough experience in that realm of things, but with a seat at the table, it puts me in touch with the people who are, and it allows for me to certainly be a voice for each of these communities, what they want, what they need, how they need to grow, and they can be sure that I am going to be there to bring this to the table. I think what we're seeing, we're hearing right now is the Liberal Party hasn't done enough, the Conservative Party hasn't done enough, each of them having in power, and so are the representatives really able to do enough for their people they represent while they are in such a massive party who may not have the best interest of those individual landscapes at that time. Myself as an independent, I'm not bound to any party platforms or ideas. I am really here to represent myself because I am a member of my community, and I'm going to be representing the people who are in my community. And that's what I could propose to do as far as the strength of communication and finding out how we can make things better.
Yeah, I think Thaila was right? When you mention biodiversity, I think it's critical that we also mention our farmers, because they are the ones that are intrinsically involved and intrinsically attuned to our biodiversity. I've talked to a lot of farmers throughout Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. They've got huge challenges when it comes to succession, when it comes to the implementation of technology, right? We have farmers that are currently facing cyber attacks. If you would ask me that 30 years ago, they would have told you we were speaking baloney or to go buy a lotto ticket. But these farmers are facing cyber attacks. They need to be prepared, and the Ontario government needs to be there to support them, right? Especially when I look at the amount of challenges that we are facing with the varying climates. Us in Hammond, we faced a debilitating storm in 2022, in the spring of 2022 in the derecho. I had farmers whose farms were completely flattened. It is a miracle that nobody was killed. And yet, when we asked for help from the provincial government, when we asked them to lend a hand, what were we given? Nothing. Other regions in Ontario that were hit by the storm were given that support. They were heard. But us in Eastern Ontario, we didn't get a single thing, except for a few months later where they were talking about giving us some new funding to restore some of the forests that were lost. That's great. But I still have residents and neighbors out in Hammond who are living in motels because their farms, because their houses were completely flattened. We need a government that listens to us here in Eastern Ontario, and it's about time after 7 years that we get one.
We have another minute if you'd like to.
Right. Well, along the lines of, like, say, incentivizing farmers and actually rewarding for some of the environmental stewardship, any field that you go by, and you've probably seen today with the snow drifts, one kind of low-hanging fruit would be there's a program called ALUS, Alternative Land Use Services, ALUS, and we want to make programs like that province-wide. So they do things like ponds on farms, etc. But imagine roadways where you have basically hedges, cedar hedge, whatever. It provides habitat for pollinators and wildlife corridors for animals, but bonus, it prevents your roads from getting snow drifts in the middle of winter, and also cuts down on wind erosion. So there would be incentives for farmers getting a payback, and you also less burden on municipalities having you send your plows as often and making it safer on the roads. So just ideas like that.
And you have 30 seconds to.
So again, it's one of those things where, big ticket items out in Toronto. Ford wants to have the 413 multi-billion-dollar highway that would only save about 3 minutes of commute time. We would cancel that, redirect those billions to healthcare and other programs. Certain projects we could probably redirect to the 17, which is, like I say, a much more needed project. There we go.
Thank you. We know, Jason, that U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened tariffs, has already imposed levies on steel and aluminum imports into the U.S. This is absolutely devastating for many businesses. How will you ensure Ontarians are provided with some support through these financial challenges and protect those jobs here in Ontario?
Well, that's a huge topic, and I think there's a little bit of fear-mongering that's happened with that. Again, I have to look at what's important to my constituents in my area and what's going to be affecting them. Up the line, we have people that are in positions of power who can help us deal and delegate with how to maybe look at using our own natural resources to empower our own economy. We're talking about gas and fuel. That's a major thing. Why are we not building our own refineries, producing our own fuel and selling fuel to our own economy so we're not paying so much to get it back over here? This is a really wide-scoped question. I think that requires more than a small amount of time that's limited. But by being able to have a seat at the table, I can ask questions, get answers, and we can really find some answers for that.
Some debate, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Donald Trump is a bully, and a bully answers to only one thing, and that is somebody that stands up to them. And we need a government and a local representative, an Eastern champion that will stand up to people like Mr. Trump. And I'm ready to do that. We have to fight back against him because God knows we have minus 20-degree weather out there. The Americans cannot tolerate that. We will not become the United States' 51st state. Absolutely not. When we're talking about tariff protection, I'm also thinking about the boys in Ivaku. and the steel mill out in Hawkesbury, who are facing a huge, huge challenge with those steel tariffs if implemented out in March. We need to respond forcefully, and we need to respond showing strength. And right now, we couldn't do that. Why? Because we were in an election, an unnecessary, costly election that, quite frankly, undermined the way that we were able to respond to these tariff threats. It shows, I think, just how much Mr. Ford cares about the people in Eastern Ontario and just how little, I think, he cares about them. We also need to be doing things like cancelling the Starlink contract that's with Mr. Musk that is currently costing Ontario taxpayer dollars $100 million. And the Ontario Liberals will implement a backstop fight tariffs fund that will backstop Ontario businesses, giving them access to lower than market interest rates, because the government needs to lend a hand to those businesses as we face these threats. And quite frankly, I am heartened by the amount of unity that we are seeing across the country right now. We are rallying to our flag, and I think that's something we haven't seen in a while, and I think it's a really good thing.
I'm just really sorry to see that, everybody wants to fight against Trump and, have a lot of name calling going on. These things that we should be doing for ourselves, we should have been doing long ago for the right reasons, not to fight against someone who's being told they're a bully. He is doing what he needs to do for the benefit of this country, which he was elected for. We need to implement that same strategy for ourselves. If you're going to be electing someone to do a job for you, it's got to be done all year round, not just coming through at election time to drop some money down and try to drum up some votes. We need to address these things on an ongoing basis, and taxes is a huge thing. Again, like I'm saying, I've got a list of things that I looked through Global Affairs website and found billions and billions of dollars that's given away to foreign countries for a lot of nonsensical things. And if we're going to be giving money away to foreign countries, we certainly have the money available to put into our communities to make sure that we have housing, we have healthcare, we have food, we have education, we have lots of opportunity with our own tax dollars to supply our own demand and need of things.
I'd like to bring up that Greens, we've been kind of saying supporting our local economy, it's not just climate resiliency. We've been saying it for past election and before that. It's also economic resiliency. So if trade issues come up like we're seeing right now, we can weather them, literally, with climate issues. Anyways, but we would want to develop a Buy Ontario strategy, and we want to make sure as government we would set up a procurement policy that would favor Ontario businesses and farms. Also, we would create a Protect Ontario fund for businesses that would be, in this case right now with the tariff war, impacted by tariffs and making investments that needed to shore up our supply chains. We also need more food processing in our riding, food hubs. You kind of touched on with the fossil fuels, but our food, if we just ship everything off raw, we're losing a lot of value-added taxes and whatnot. So let's sell our food locally. Let's put food into our schools, our hospitals, and our institutions. Let's feed our kids with local Ontario-grown, healthy, processed food.
Jason.
Yeah, on that, I really like the idea of the farming. A long time ago, I put forward municipal, provincial farming initiatives to where I lived at then, the PC government. I never heard anything back. It seems like that's a growing thing. Constituents show up, they give information, they're not always getting stuff back. I like the idea of producing food, getting it grown, harvested, packaged, and sent out to our own municipalities. How can we feed our municipalities and then outreach that to the province? And so we have enough farmland we can feed ourselves.
Thank you so much. Next question to you, Trevor. When we speak about all of the challenges when it comes to housing in this province, much of it is focused on immigrants and refugees that are coming, trying to find safe, affordable housing here. Many Ontarians as well trying to find that safe, affordable housing. Talk to me about the housing plan from your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I'm deeply affected by the housing crisis. I'm affected by it in Hammond, which is a small village of about 2,000 people east of Ottawa. If we are being affected by housing, if the rents in Hammond are soaring to $2,000 to $2,100 just for a bachelor, just for a bedroom. We have a systemic issue at play here. And us here in Eastern Ontario, in rural Ontario, we're feeling that brunt. I talked to a lot of folks out in Hawkesbury who are facing those types of challenges. We need a government who will actually implement solutions, and we have some. It's eliminating land transfer tax, as Thaila had mentioned, for seniors and first-time home buyers. We need to scrap development charges and build a new Ontario infrastructure fund to ensure that we can build sustainably.
Thank you. Any debate, gentlemen?
You mentioned Hawkesbury, and half of the homeless, as of reported by the Review last February, half of the homeless in Prescott are riding live in Hawkesbury. And so we mentioned affordable social housing and Greens, we would commit to 60,000 across the province of deeply affordable housing, which also has wraparound health services like mental health, dealing with addictions. And this might dovetail into a further question about safe consumption sites, but we have to get people off drugs, off the streets, and into a house and to employment. There has to be a roadmap out of that spiral. Like Trevor mentioned, there's a lot of part we're talking about removing development charges, making it easier to build the houses that we need in already established urban settings. We already have roads, sewers, electricity. Let's not expand ourselves and push more load onto the towns to support more infrastructure. Let's build in and protect the places we love.
I also spoke with the mayor of Hawkesbury, Mayor Lefebvre, and one of the issues he's had for decades is trying to get more land. There's not enough land for him, and he can't get it from the outlying municipalities. They don't want to give it up. So I think it's a point where maybe the province has to step in to help assist and accommodate getting more land, more waterways. The other thing is looking at is the cost of getting buildings done. Is a developer going to want to build a condo where he can get deposits for those home buyers? They're already getting money back in their pocket versus building apartment buildings where they're looking at first and last month's rent, and still the issue with having people who end up not being able to afford their rents, falling behind in rents, and then these homeowners, building owners, apartment building owners, they're losing money because people aren't able to pay their rent or their full rent. So it's this ongoing cycle that really needs to be addressed, and we got to figure out how to talk to everybody at the table to find a proper solution. And again, if it's a cost of building homes, we got to lower taxes, we got to lower all the red tape that we're all seemingly talking about. It's just who is really going to be able to step in there, speak on behalf of the people, get the answers, and not be dissuaded by other things that are potentially also needed. Everything is important. We got to address them all.
So at City Council, we were able to pass resolutions to get homes built. I have a concrete results in doing so, and the Ontario Liberals have a concrete plan to make sure it happens. And as Tyler was mentioning, when we're talking about homeowners, we also need to be talking about renters, right? Folks who have disproportionately been affected by the lack of affordable housing that is currently implemented and the lack of rent control, right? The Ford government eliminated rent control in 2018 for new purpose-built housing in 2018, and I've heard horror stories from folks in Hawkesbury. I've heard horror stories from Le Centre Juridique de Prescott-Russell, who have told me the sheer length of the landlord-tenant board process if you're evicted for no good reason. These folks need support, and that's why we're going to be implementing phased, fair rent control that's going to be benefiting landlords and also benefiting tenants and protecting them, because they have not been seeing that protection over the past 7 years. And I've also talked to a lot of seniors, right, who are saying, look, I'm in a 4-bedroom house, I want to downsize. But if they sell their home, where are they going to go? They can't afford anywhere else. We need to put in place incentives like eliminating the land transfer tax to make sure these folks have what's needed to downsize and free up that available housing market that I know we can do.
We have about 20 seconds if there's anything either one of you want to mention.
We've got, in terms of land, definitely in the green platform, but making sure provincial land affordable, provided at no cost. And also we have places like brownfield, so remediated pre-industrial sites, could be parks, but also if it's safe enough to put housing there, as well as old strip malls, warehouses. Yeah.
Over to you for a rebuttal.
Growth no longer pays for growth. This mentality no longer works for us. That's why we are committed to eliminating development charges and creating an infrastructure fund that will serve the best for Ontario municipalities. I know that this has been a huge thing for a lot of developers. We need to reduce that, cut that red tape, make sure we're building more housing for seniors, for young people, and for families in Glengarry-Prescott-Russell.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Small businesses have been through many hardships in the last 5 years, from the pandemic closures to labor shortages to the red tape for small business owners. It has been really challenging. How will you support small business owners? Tanya.
Thanks for that question. So one of the things would be increasing the employer health tax exemption to 1.5 million. So that would so that small businesses can hire more workers. We want to make sure also that very wealthy fossil fuel companies, if they're going to use our land, have to make sure they pay for our land. We also have to, on the worker side, make sure that it's easier to banning employees from requiring a stick note when they can't make it to work. And also on families, Trevor mentioned tax cuts.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And any debate, gentlemen?
Yeah,
I want to say something too. I lost my business during COVID. I had a very successful two businesses. Actually, I was expanding and growing, and when COVID happened, everything just got quiet and shut down. And I've seen a lot of places, go under. And I think that's my only real experience with losing my business and having to want it to regrow. And because it was so slow going, I decided to go back to school, get a law degree, became paralegal, law clerk, so I could maybe one day get involved in something like this. I think what we have to look at is, we were talking about earlier about our youth not having enough jobs. There is a big thing with the labor market impact assessment where we have a lot of foreign workers that are taking jobs here, jobs that are usually taken over by like my teenage kids who can't get jobs in our little community of Russell because there's just not enough place for them. I think that the labor market impact assessment and other programs like that really need to be audited to ensure that these restaurants and business owners are putting out fair applications. They're taking interviews. They're making sure that they don't have a history of letting go people in those positions. That would help, I think, redistribute some of the job opportunity in this area. As far as how we help small businesses, I think for me, getting the opportunity to be in the seat, to have access to the market of the professionals that are in power in the provincial government to see how we could fix this issue would be where I would want to be.
I'll remind Mr. St. Louis that the LMIA is a federal issue. I'll also remind him that when you talk to small business owners, specifically farmers, they need a lot of those temporary foreign workers that are coming in. Farmers have a hard time finding labor. The rural Ontario has evolved. It has. It used to be a agri-centered lifestyle, and it is slowly but surely, the government of Ontario has evolved beyond that, leaving us in the dust. We need to work in cooperation, of course, with the federal government, but blaming LMIAs for the way that small businesses are currently running just isn't going to cut it. What we need to be doing is doing things like cutting the small business tax rate in half, which we are committed to doing. We need to be hiring more young people and ensuring that they have the skills needed going into the workforce, because right now they don't have them. And when I talk to small business owners, they're saying, look, I want to hire more young people. I need more staff. And we need to make sure that that transition is easier for them. That's why we're allowing employers to claim up to $6,000 or 50% of wages for any sorts of co-ops or internship positions that they're going to be doing, because we need to be, again, focusing on that local Eastern Ontario economy so that folks don't just live in our region, but can actually spend and benefit from activities there.
Now, the LMI is a federal issue, but it's affecting us in our municipalities. So how do we get those kids to have those jobs? Again, when I'm talking to some people who don't want to be named, who are managers in these places, they feel that, hey, I've got lots of young kids, I've got lots of people in the community that could work and they want to work, they just don't have the opportunity because we're being told not to hire, go ahead and hire these people. So I'd like to see an audit on that.
But the provincial government can't audit the federal government.
No, but we got to figure out how we can make something happen, because that's just a problem, is me as a constituent, I want an answer. And what you're saying is it's a federal issue. Well, how do we get up there? How does someone like a constituent like me reach out to their member of provincial parliament, to reach out to the members of parliament, to reach out to the federal government? We need answers. We need to find out why we don't have this availability. We have a strain on social services. Ontario Works. There's people who are on the system who don't really need to be. So what if we are putting a mandate that if you're on Ontario Works and you're a healthy young person, maybe you got to go take that job position. Here's a job offer for you. And if you want to get subsidized.
Thank you so much. Rebuttal.
So good points all around, but we have to build more resilience in our local economy. And Trevor makes a good point. Yes, we have a lot of farmers, but we do have our small businesses. And again, positioning the province as a business partner, again, having a procurement where we actually can directly buy many of the products that are made here. We also need to invest in an investment tax credit to unlock our business investments in Ontario. We have to invest in our local businesses again.
Thank you so much. We know, and I mean, I'm on all these different moms groups on Facebook, and every single day I see moms trying to make the difficult choice between medication, food on the table, extracurricular activities for their children, gas in the gas tank. How will you make Ontario more affordable? Jason.
Again, there's so many great questions, and it's something that it faces me as well. I got to sometimes choose if I'm paying one bill over another. Healthcare, I got kids who need some stuff with their teeth. Same thing with me. I think, again, where is the root cause? Why do we not have enough of this funding available to us? The cost, bringing costs down for things. If we have money to spend on billions of dollars on other countries, why can't we work to access our own taxpayer dollars, redistribute these funds so that we can look at what each community needs and kind of redirect those funds to those communities to help alleviate that stress?
The debate, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we need to be giving folks a break. The provincial government needs to be giving them a break. And how we're going to do that? We're going to be cutting folks' taxes. We'll lower the personal income tax rate for middle-class Ontario families by reducing the tax rate on taxable income between $51,000 and $75,000 by 22%. This will save folks in Ontario enormous amounts of money to make sure that moms don't have to make those types of tough decisions. Because I've talked to a lot of folks, que ça soit Rockland, Limoges, Hawkesbury, Alexandria. I've spoken to a lot of folks who are saying, look, maybe I'm well off, but I'm looking at my kids and I have no idea how they're going to be able to set themselves up for the future in this economy. And we need somebody who understands those challenges. As a young person, despite the pain in my back and in my joints, I'm still relatively young, and I think we need to have somebody who understands those challenges because it's personal for me. If we don't get things done, if we don't have reduction in sort of things like middle-class income taxes, I suffer, my neighbors suffer, my family and friends suffer. It's personal for me, and I'm going to get it done.
One of the things I also talked to some friends about, even myself, is some of them, again, they do have the income. They can afford things. Maybe not all up front. So maybe there's something we can do to reduce the upfront cost by either working with the government to help not fully subsidize, but maybe if I could get a small loan that would allow me to make payments on the dental care or health care that I need, so it can be dispersed out a little bit on a longer period of time, but not costing us taxpayers more money by covering these subsidies. I think working with the healthcare professionals and speaking to families about this will give us a better opportunity to see if something like this could work.
And we're talking about tax cuts. We also would support tax cuts for low and middle income earners. We would also actually talk about taxing the ultra rich, and we're talking incomes over 10 million a year, so they pay a bit more for their fair share. We also have to look at our social programs and realize that it's just not cutting it for a lot of people, and we'll have to make sure that the costs of living are reflected in what they're getting. Letting our most vulnerable suffer is not the sign of a great society. We do have quite a substantial electricity subsidy to rebate checks going to all Ontarians, but what we would be doing as the Greens is we'd be redirecting the ones that are going to the wealthiest Ontarios, and that would be about $7 billion, and redirecting it to the social programs.
I'll hit it once again on our plan to eliminate the HST on hydro and home heating bills. This is huge for Ontario families, and it's huge for families here in Eastern Ontario. And I think when we're talking about the affordability crisis, one component that's often left out is the disability community. Right, the current payments for ODSP are about $1,300. These folks cannot work because they are disabled, and they are forced to survive in what's quite frankly legislated poverty. That's got to change. That's why we've made a commitment to double ODSP to make sure that our most vulnerable will be supported and will not be left in poverty that is currently being accepted by the Ford government.
30 seconds left for debate.
Good to hear that, actually. The more parties that can say for doubling ODSP, good. We would also look to use redirecting subsidies to provide people with cheaper heating, so heat pump technology to try and bring costs down for families as well. So for incomes under $100,000, there would be a free heat pump program. For those above, we would offer zero interest loans to try and bring down heating costs.
Thank you so much. Trevor, a severe backlog in Ontario courts is concerning many victims of crime. In addition, many jails are bursting at the seams. How will you ensure the legal system in Ontario is improved?
Yeah, for sure. As I mentioned, I recently had a chat throughout this election campaign with Le Centre Juridique de Prescott-Russell, who talked to me about the sheer grandiosity of the backlog within the Landlord and Tenant Board. It's enormous. Folks cannot be processed within almost a year now, especially when it comes to French language courts, right? There's about, I think, 2 judges within the Landlord and Tenant Board right now that speak French and that are able to view trials in French. That's got to change. We need to start taking it seriously, and we need to start addressing that backlog, right? We wonder why folks are being let out after committing violent crimes. Well, they can't get a fair trial right now because Ford refuses to invest within our justice system.
Thank you. Any debate, gentlemen?
To that effect of overburdening our criminal system is really putting an onus on people who are homeless and criminalizing that, and really taking a humane approach to them, and really looking at getting people off the streets, off the drugs, and into a better future with supportive services, getting housing. For example, keeping someone who's off the streets and has a medical condition will cost a hospital $30,000 a month. Keeping someone in jail is going to be $10,000 a month. Keeping someone in social housing is $4,000 a month. The cheapest option, and we just need to get people and stop treating them as criminals. A lot of people are getting some bad luck. It's tough times, and that's also burdening our police forces that need to be tackling much more criminal issues.
I think people are still committing crimes, though, and it's not, the people who are in hardships. Yes, they'll steal for food to be able to survive, but there are people that are committing crimes. They're violent crimes. We're seeing in a lot of places like the GTA, especially home invasions. I followed this guy on TikTok, and he shows the little ping spots of just a string of home invasions that are happening. I personally know people in this area who've had a home invasion done recently. So I think education for our youth, maybe if they're brought up in a way that they have more access to understanding the justice system, even if it's at such a simplified version, understanding what is a crime, what is an assault, being confronted with it at an early age, a little bit of education on that. But as they're growing up, we're in hard times and people are committing crimes. We do need to hanker down on that. I think that, yes, jails are overpopulated. I've seen it. I've spoken to people about it. So there's a lot of things that need to be done. And I think to be able to sit down and have the conversations on how to address not letting these criminals out of jail to go commit more crimes because they're feeling like, they're going to get away with it. The crime and the sentencing are just so light now that are they being let out early or not given long enough sentences because the overcrowding of jails is the answer to build more jails, more facilities to house criminals? It's a big strain on the system. And every time someone is in court, it is costing us taxpayers money. We have to, have all these professionals, these judges and lawyers, and because there's so many people who don't have access to money, they're having to get legal aid. That's got to come at a cost from somewhere. So this is a really big subject, and I think it does require more than the short time that we're all able to give here. And I think that we could all have some really great answers and insight on how to better respond to the growing crime that's happening in our communities.
Most of the communities within, or all of the communities within Glengarry-Prescott-Russell are currently served by the Ontario Provincial Police. When you talk to them, you realize how, one, understaffed they are, and two, how under-resourced they are. I look at their station right now, if you can call it that, in Rockland. It is the size of a closet. They need a new station out in Rockland. They need further support, and they need the provincial government's deal on that. When I look at, we just had a drastic increase in OPP fees brought in by the provincial government. There was no consultation done to municipalities. None, nothing. This was levied flat onto them. We need to cooperate with municipalities, with the Ontario Provincial Police, and with the Government of Ontario to ensure that we can build a locally based approach for enforcement within our communities.
Thank you.
I think we have to take a holistic approach. Like, as you're saying, there is serious crimes, but a lot of break-and-enters, we're thinking the ones that are doing it to feed them families. There's an affordability pressure on pushing people into criminal acts. So how do we relieve that pressure humanely? So we really have to make sure there is a path, especially, we have, like I said, 80,000 homeless on the streets. It's an emergency. We just
Thank
keep
you
a
so
bigger
much.
picture.
30 seconds for debate. For rebuttal, my apologies.
I think Tyler's right on this. I think we need to invest in the root causes of crime, right? We look at mental health, housing, education, addiction services. Folks right now who are facing these types of challenges have no support when it comes from the provincial government. We need to strongly invest to ensure that we are reducing that crime rate. And guess what? It is the compassionate thing to do. It is the humane thing to do, because a lot of these folks are our neighbors. A lot of them are our friends and our families. But in that same vein, I think we also need to be supporting.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We have a couple of questions now. You'll each have 1 minute to reply. I'm going to start with you. Talk to me about your plan for Ontarians living with a disability.
Well, number one is upping the ODSP by 50%, doubling it, and really starting to invest in our healthcare and making sure that they have the tools that they need and the ability to take care of themselves. And then there's a lot of mental health. I was talking about, support services. There's actually for children and youth, making an immediate investment. There's a frontline mental health service, but right now wait times could be up to a year. We want to reduce those to 30 days or less for children and youth. Again, talking about building 60,000 supportive housing with wraparound mental and addiction services, and making sure we have a holistic approach to treating our people with disabilities and other issues.
Yeah, I think the same thing. There's the healthcare industry as a whole really needs to be looked at. I think everybody's agreeing that raising the ODSP for people who are on it, that's kind of needed because the cost of everything has gone up, and when the cost that they are given to live off of doesn't match what's being kind of raised up there, that's got to be addressed. I think we're all agreeing in a whole healthcare industry really needs to be looked at to be more supportive of what everyone needs. So that's easy pass off.
Trevor.
Yeah, I think full stop doubling ODSP and indexing it with inflation. I think it's critical, absolutely needed, and it's the one thing that I've been hearing from folks who are currently on ODSP. I also think it's an important point to push on a healthcare system. It has been the number one issue for this campaign for me. It's the number one issue I'm hearing at the doors, and it's the number one issue that often our disability community is facing within Glengarry-Prescott-Russell, right? I heard from a woman in Embrun who is suffering from a disability and who needs to have a visit with a family doctor about 2 to 3 months. She doesn't have one. What does she do? She has to go to the emergency room and wait 8 to 9 hours, or she has to try and get in at the walk-in clinic that's only open Tuesday and Wednesday in Rockland. This shouldn't be the life for disabled people in our community. We need to properly support them, and that also goes with education. We need to bring in special education counselors that have been eliminated throughout the Ford government and cut throughout the Ford government. We need to be supporting them from A to Z, and that's my commitment to them.
Okay, we'd like closing comments from everybody. We'll start with you, Jason.
Yeah, I just want to say this was a great experience. I said I would come here to listen and learn. I really enjoyed listening to these two gentlemen speak, and it gives me some greater insight as to what my feelings and my thoughts are, and it's going to allow me to expand on my platform. So I just want to remind, I talk to people that talk about vote splitting for an independent. At this point, I don't think people need to worry about a vote splitting. Voting for an independent is not going to decide who becomes the next prime minister. But what it will do is give you, the constituent, a voice and a seat at the table so that I can offer you complete accountability and transparency. I can be a voice not just for you, but for me at the table in Queen's Park. And again, I'm not bound by any particle policies or platforms or direction. I am working for you, the constituents, and whatever matters to me, it really matters to you because we all live here together, and I just want to do my best for that. So again, thank you all for letting me be here, participate.
Thank you. Trevor.
The people of this region are why I'm on this stage here today. We only ask to be able to live the lives of good people, honest people, hard-working people. We only ask to be given a fair shot at living a good life. I'm here to tell you that that isn't too much to ask for. We can be fiscally prudent and invest in our healthcare system. We can support rural Ontario and fund our school system. These things aren't mutually exclusive, but they are a question of priority. And my priority is you. You deserve an Eastern champion that will fight for us and put us first at every occasion. So on February 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 27th, when you go out to vote, ensure that it's not just on our names on the ballot. It's our education system, our healthcare system, our economy. Ensure that you vote for the belief that we can do better, that you vote for an economy that works for us in rural Ontario. Vote for our fair share. Vote for a healthcare system that works for us. Vote for Trevor Stewart.
Thaila.
Thanks for showing up as well, and thanks for having us. So yeah, tough times. As we've heard a lot of good ideas. There's a lot of good ideas in the green platform. It's been fully costed. Definitely check it out. It's online at gpo.ca/platform. I know in our system right now, it needs electoral reform. We definitely need more ranked choice ballots because the split vote is a possibility. But I say go out and vote, do your research, and if you're not considering vote for me, just at least get out. We know it's winter, but like Trevor said, the 20th, 21st, 27th, come out. I'm Thaila Riden, and I'm your green for Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. The money is there. It's just how are we spending it, and I think we're hearing that. Let's spend it wisely, and let's think to the future. Let's make sure our children have a bright and beautiful and clean riding that they can enjoy their futures in as well, and that we can thrive in together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us from Glengarry-Prescott-Russell. We appreciate you coming to Rogers TV and having this debate with us today. Thank you very much. And as we know, that Ontario election is February the 27th, encouraging many, many of you to go to the advanced polls. We know those blizzards that have hit this city and this towns in the last little while may make it difficult if it starts to snow on that February 27th day. Encouraging each and every one of you to vote, and encouraging each and every one of you to encourage your neighbors to vote. There are many important election issues on this Ontario docket. We want to make sure each and every one of them is listened to by the people that will govern this province. I'm Sam LaPrade.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Welcome to community news and events on Rogers TV, Channel 22. I'm Romano DeFranco. The International Film Festival of Ottawa returns on March 12th to the 23rd, bringing a diverse selection of films from around the world to Canada's capital. Hosted by the Canadian Film Institute, IFFO showcases independent and international and Canadian cinema, offering a platform for both emerging and established filmmakers. The festival includes screenings panel discussions, and Q&A sessions with directors providing audiences with unique insights into the art of filmmaking. Film enthusiasts and industry professionals alike can experience a world of film right in the heart of Ottawa. Visit iffo.ca for more info. To have your community news or event listed on our website, please go to rogerstv.com and click on events and post your event. That's it.
Hey, I'm Dave, and I absolutely love to camp. Why do we do this? Why do we go out here? With the bugs, the bears, skunks chasing you, poison ivy, ticks, you name it. Why do we do it? Because we love it. I love it. I wanted to take my passion for filming and the outdoors and combine them, and that's why I'm here. Maybe it's a mistake, I don't know.
This is TGL presented by SoFi. 24 of the best players in the world, no, the universe, pitted against each other 3 versus 3. In a first-of-its-kind arena. More Tiger, more Rory, more everybody. 6 teams, Atlanta, Boston, LA, New York, the Bay, and Jupiter. Not that Jupiter. What else? We had a shot clock, mic'd up players, a ref, playoffs, 15 holes, overtime, timeouts. Did we mention the green moves? High tech, higher stakes, and you get to watch it all, baby. Keep up. It's golf.
Learn all about the creation of the National Capital Region on The History of Ottawa, according to Phil Jenkins, on Rogers TV.